Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel where we create Xbox 360 game using Unity 5.4.1. In today's lesson, we are going to be placing down waypoints for the enemy to patrol. Alright, so let's get down to it. So in placing the waypoint, we want to make sure that we place them where the automatic doors don't need a panel to open. So we have like these two doors here in the corner, this one and this one. We can use waypoints there. We can also use it to these doors. So let's create a patrol route for this little corridor here. So first of all, what we need is a enemy to do the patrol. So let's duplicate this guy. And let's bring him all the way up here. What we'll be also doing, we can add other enemies to the waypoint, but let's create a waypoint first. So to create a waypoint, we need a empty game object. So let's click on the hierarchy, game object, create empty. Alright, and let's make sure that it's set at 0. And let's put it here. Alright. So let's name this waypoint. And now that we named that waypoint, we need to create the points for the waypoint itself. So let's right click on our waypoint and we're going to create another empty. And we're going to call this 0.01. Now we're going to go back to our parent waypoint and we're going to add a script. So the waypoint script is already in the package, so it's up to look for a waypoint. So PR waypoints route, so we're gonna add that. Now we have the size of the waypoint, like how much waypoint we want to add along the way, and the points are where the enemies will either make a turn or turn back. So let's do 4 for now. So here we have our first point. So we can trigger first point into element 0. And this first point can be our start point. Now we need to duplicate that. And let's drag this to here. And we can rename this to 0.02. Go back to our waypoint here. And we can drag it into our other element. So here we can see it has an arrow, so sure that the enemy will follow this green line here. So you want to make sure that it's lined up like that. So they'll follow this point here along, and we can continue to duplicate our waypoint and put that one right there. 0, 3, and we'll drop our waypoint here. So here, this is where we want our enemy to turn. This is where this waypoint comes in handy with the different points. So we're just going to duplicate that point, and we're going to drag it through this door. Call this point 4. And we'll add it to our waypoint. So the time to wait is in seconds, like how many time you want to wait at each point before moving on. And you can either say that at one way, mean that the enemy just go one way here, or if you disable that, he can return. But you only set this if you complete an entire square, and that we can do. Let's do it on one for now, because we need a return path. So in doing our return path, let's go to 3. Then you don't want the return path to intersect, just in case we had more than one enemies to the patrol. Okay. And what we can do now, be that we do is 4, so we can increase this to 8. Now that we know where how far down we want the patrol to go. So we're gonna duplicate this one, bring it kinda right there. And this will be 0, 5. We'll have it right there. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Duplicate 2 more. Eight. All right. So let's grab our, that's 5, 6. Grab our 7. Let's bring it up here. grab our 8, bring it up here, and our 8. We will just continue. No, doing it, the arrows may look out of whack, but once you do the last one back up to your start point, everything will fall into place. Bring a 7 over here. Alright, so we have our patrol points. So you're 5. Can bring the 5 down a little bit more. Push it off to the side there. So that's the route that the enemy will take. So for him to do a complete rotation, we can go back to our waypoint, uncheck one path. So this will be the patrol route for our enemy. Now, what we need to do is click on our enemy prefab, and we're going to scroll down to the basic AI. So you're going to make sure that it's set to patrol, and you're going to look for our route waypoint, and this is where we're going to grab our waypoint right here, and we're going to place it there. So this will allow this enemy to follow along the path, and you can do that as well with these enemies. Like, you can add them to the path, or you can just let him wander around. So yeah, you can just let him wander around on different things that you can let him do. Check for sound on the, almost like Metal Gear. So let's let this one wander around. And what we can do, let's add this enemy here. We can add that one to the patrol also. So this enemy here, we can go down. So you'll start at this point, and then he will go up to the other room. So let's add him to the patrol route. Waypoint, add him there. So that's just our basic patrol. So when we start the game over on the Xbox, so we have 1, 2, 3 enemies. So we're gonna try and sneak in and kill these two without alerting this enemy right here. Because those blue rings, those are what determine the sound that the enemy detects. So like shooting or anything, this is their range. So we're gonna try and let them reach out of range, and we're gonna take out these 2 guards, these 3 guards, and then we're gonna sneak around and watch how they patrol. Alright, so I'm gonna make sure to rebuild this section. I noticed that was the issue I was having, where enemies weren't showing up. I have to rebuild these three things. So the navigation, I have to rebuild these three areas, and the occludes that word right there. We have to rebuild. So let's bake that. Let's bake that one over on objects. Bake everything there. The areas, just make sure everything is baked. Alright, and we're just gonna save and build. Alright, and I'll see you over on the Xbox when we're testing this out. Alright, so we're now on our, so we're just gonna go in and hopefully everything goes through smoothly. Yeah, I'm still trying to get the richer aspect for the splash screen. Alright, to our new game. Alright, so we're now in our game. I've made a few adjustments to my HUD. It's used the same principle as the pause menu and everything, just changing the overlay, design the overlay in paint.net, and same thing with the map. So those you can do. Okay, let's grab our key. So if you hold down the button and barely move, you won't alert anyone. So let's see if, so there he is doing his patrol. Alex not want to be seen. Alright, so the patrol is working. Let's sneak around. But when you walk normally, they can hear footsteps. And you can see it's going back up to that room. And you can hear him go, they're going through the doors. Let's see. Let me crouch down. And you can see he's doing his patrol. So while he's gone down, let's grab our key and proceed to the other room. Unlock this door. Yeah. So the weapon UI I just created where you can see how much clips your weapon has and how much grenade you have. I realized that whatever font that Unity provides through the game pack, it doesn't show up on the console, no matter if I change to Arial or whatever it is. For some reason, it's not showing up. So I decided to use visual aspect to show what's happening. So when the clip is being used, you can see the meter goes down, and whenever time the character change the clip, you can see down by the bottom bar how much clip they have for that weapon. And these are the enemy turrets. They will shoot once you go within range. And we can see how much keys we already collected. So we're just gonna go into our final key. Okay, there's no guard here. Alright, so we have all keys. So in our next lesson, I may work on creating a brief mission where you're brief on a particular task, and then when you complete that task, you'll get some sort of notification that that task has been completed. The mission briefing will be like an audio, so whatever digital PDA pad the player has, and we can put something in here. So far, the patrol works. Let's go look for that enemy that's on the patrol and put him out of his miseries. Or did we already? Yeah, I'm not quite sure where he went. And you can see, I need to fix those lights because it did redesign this area for this door. But yeah, that's how you actually do the whole patrol thing. If you have any suggestions on anything you'd wanna see in this series, you can leave the comments down below. That'll be it for this episode. So, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Yeah, I can still hear that enemy walking around. But yeah.